What's your own view on the prospects for a recession stateside as it stands?
Well, tomorrow morning, actually, today, your time, we will know because the government will announce the second quarter GDP numbers, and by all consensus, 2 quarters of negative growth will mean we're in a recession. It's not a very heavy recession, it's not a very strong recession, but a mild one at the present time. But as the Federal Reserve continues to raise rates, which they will have to do to fight inflation, their main objective, the recession may well deepen a bit, and we may actually have a double dip recession if we have a short recovery in the fall, and then next year, full-blown recession as the Fed policy takes hold.
And what prospects do you put on the risk of stagflation, given the fact that we have slowing growth and high inflation at this point, still tracking at 9.1%, which also signals that this Federal Reserve has a lot more work to do to get things under control?
You're exactly right. I think at the moment we are in a stagflation if you use the word properly. We have both inflation, 9%, as well as stagnation, slightly negative growth for the first 2 quarters, and that will mean it's a small recession, i.e. the definition of a stagflation, stagnation and inflation at the same time.
And of course, what we're also seeing playing out right now is a number of inflationary pressures that continue to add risk to the US economy, inflationary pressures in the pipeline. We've spoken about the supply chain issues, but energy is also quite critical here, given the price of crude oil right now and gasoline, of course, impacting the US consumer. One of the questions that Hadley asked the governor yesterday was regarding the impact that this could potentially have on the midterms and the politics for the Biden administration. What's your view on that, and how do you see the soaring price of energy continuing to weigh on this administration?
Well, the administration has it in its own hands what to do about the price of energy. They basically stopped drilling in the United States. We discontinued several pipeline projects in the United States. The US was energy independent when Biden came into office, and very quickly turned it around by giving in to the people who didn't want to have more energy. Not unlikely what's happening in Europe in some of the countries. But in the US, we were in a strong position, energy independent, and we gave it away. I think that's one of the big mistakes that the administration has made.
We were energy independent. You're absolutely right, Governor. I got to ask you, though, when you take a step back and look at what's happening at the situation in Europe, obviously what's happening with the engine of European growth, Germany, great deal of fear there about if there is a bad winter, what that could really mean for that country and for European more broadly, because at the same point, there is a knock-on effect when it comes to gas prices in Germany and the impact that that has on gas supplies throughout the rest of the continent. How difficult do you think that this is going to be for the Fed to navigate as we still attempt to find some way to stop the war machine coming from the Kremlin?
Certainly not going to be easy. Anytime you are skating at the edge of a recession, the Federal Reserve has a hard job to do. And the European situation, the global situation, I should say, makes it even harder. But the Federal Reserve has no one to blame but itself. We had 2 years ago, we had 25% monetary growth in 2 years in a row. And as a result, we got the inflationary fires burning in our own house. There's no reason to point at the Ukraine or at Germany or Russian gas supplies. All those things, they're sideshows to the main impetus that fueled the US inflation, and that was the money supply growth in the United States.